Thank you everyone for coming today. Today we have GroupM presenting about their organization, and we're really excited and lucky to have them. Few housekeeping items first. My name is Kelsey Nager. I work with USD's Career Development Center as the Employer Experience Coordinator. And I work with organizations to get them to career fairs, info sessions like these, interview days, and whatnot. So we're really excited to have GroupM here today to join us. Another housekeeping item is GroupM will, in a few moments, take it over and do their info session, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So feel free to unmute yourself at that time, or you can text chat your questions and we can answer them that way as well. If you are looking to receive Compass, Passport, or Connect points for being here today, that's great. There's nothing in follow-up that you need to do other than be engaged, participate, and we'll be utilizing the Zoom attendance report after this meeting to allot those points. So allow a few days for those to show up in your profile because we are doing that manually due to being remote, but we will get those in there. Lastly, we'll have a follow-up email at the end of today's session with GroupM's contact information. So you can contact them afterwards. And then I'll also be sending a survey at the end of this session in the chat because we'd love to get your feedback. We do these sessions quite often and we want to make sure that they're improving each time we do them. So please fill out that survey and that'll help us in the future. And then lastly, we are recording this session and putting it on our Career Development YouTube channel at the end. So if you would not like your face potentially recorded in that, please turn off your camera now. And if you don't mind, totally fine, but we will be posting it so you can view it later, or if you had a friend that missed it, they can view it as well. So without further ado, I'll kick it off to GroupM. Thank you for being here, and we're really excited to have you.
Hey, well, thanks so much, Kelsey. We're excited to be here as well. And just as a way of introduction, my name is Ron Chen, and I work on the talent acquisition team over in GroupM. My colleague, Efra Madeira, hopefully I got your last name correct there, buddy. But
yeah, no, you got it. You got it.
Let's go. But we're definitely part of the future talent team. So we essentially handle anything recruiting for entry level to internships and anything else in between. But if you guys have any sort of questions regarding like internships and just like the way that we recruit, we can definitely handle some of those questions towards the end of the info session as well. But to kind of kick it right off, Marlon and Vanessa are part of the GroupM multicultural team within GroupM. And all, they're going to teach you guys a little bit about what it is that we do on their end. So yeah, take it away, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself now.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron. Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa, and this is Marlon. And today we're going to be taking you guys through just a little bit of what we do. I work in the analytics and insight space, and Marlon's in the digital space. So today we're just going to go, this is a bit of an agenda, but today we're going to go into who we are, our background, clients that we've worked on. We're going to go into a bit of a high level understanding of what the multicultural space really entails, because it is a pretty specialized thing that we do over at GroupM. We're going to go into what I do, a bit of understanding of the world of analytics and insights, and as well as we're going to go through some of examples, some really of the fun ones that my team has done. We're also going to do a bit of what Marlon does, and we're going to go into depth into digital investment in the multicultural space and the really awesome work that his team has created. And we're also going to do a bit of analytics and digital combined. Even we're not a very siloed department, so we are very collaborative. So we're going to show you guys some examples of the work that we've done together. And then we're going to go into the employee resource group at GroupM, one of the many of Amplify that Marlon led to create. And then we're going to go into next steps and just what to really look out for beyond college and how to get really your foot in the door. So before all of that, hi, I'm Vanessa Rosseno, and I'm a senior analyst on GroupM's Multicultural Analytics and Insights team. I've been with GroupM for around 2.5 years now. It'll be 3 years in the fall. And just a little bit about me. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. And when I was 4 years old, I moved over to the Sunshine State and grew up in sunny Tampa Bay area. My parents are now in Miami, so I get to travel to Miami a lot, which is very, very nice. I went to the University of Central Florida, go Knights. It's in Orlando, so basically think of like University at Disney. That's sort of what college was like for me. I majored in both advertising and public relations. My program was really cool because I got to see sort of both sides of the comms world. And I was definitely very much a girl that leaned towards PR. I thought I was going to be the Olivia Pope of the world, or I was going to be like a Samantha Jones and just be this boss like in New York, things like that. But I was very much stuck. I didn't know where really I should go. And that's when an opportunity with the MAPE program came about when I was in my senior year of college. And MAPE is basically an internship program that lets multicultural students get a foot in the door in advertising agencies. So I got my foot in the door. It actually was an internship at GroupM. So it was something that I got a really amazing opportunity with. And the team liked me so much that they're just like, hey, we're going to offer you a job. So I packed literally all my stuff in 2 suitcases, flew out to New York. I signed a lease with people I had never met, and to an apartment that I had never seen in person, but it was just this wild adventure that I was just like, you know what, let's go ahead and do it. So ever since then, I've been at GroupM. This is a picture of our beautiful office at the 3 World Trade Center. We get to sit there and have lunch, eat snacks, go to events. It's a really fun space to hang out at. And some of the brands that I really worked on are big Fortune 500 brands such as Universal Pictures, Target, Ally, PlayStation, some other ones like Purina, Hilton. But one of the really big realities is that COVID-19 happened. So I'm no longer at this office. I'm basically in my home office, as you guys can see in the background. And I'm basically in my childhood room now. So there are some embarrassing posters on that side of the room. Thank God I put my computer this way. But business has really not slowed down. So I'm still working on a lot of these brands, and our team is really, really lucky, and we've been really winning a lot of new business too. So advertising right now is in a really interesting spot. So that's a little bit about me. I'm gonna kick it off over to Marlon now.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hey, everyone. My name is Marlon Diaz. I'm a senior associate at GroupM Multicultural on the digital investment team. I've been here for 2 years, January 7th. So you can go to the next page, Vanessa. I, like Vanessa, was born in South America. I was born in Guyana, the only English-speaking country in South America. Little fun fact, when I came to New York at 9 years old, it was about 97 to 100 degrees in Guyana. It was 1 degree here when we landed, so bit of an adjustment there. Grew up here from the age of 9, here in New York, I mean. Went to Stony Brook University. Unlike Vanessa, who went to school at Universal, or was it Disney, sorry. We went to school wherever. We went to school at a theme park. Stony Brook University is in the middle of nowhere on Long Island. And it was a town that was desolate, but it was a great school. Loved the school, majored in business management, marketing specialization, and I minored in China studies. Even spent 2 summers in Shanghai, Beijing, and a few other cities of China as well. But unlike Vanessa, I got my start in the finance industry. So next page, please. Now, when I got my start in finance, I was in a marketing department. Now, startup company, you think that most startup companies they fail or they downsize. Within 3 months of me working there, the marketing department was deprecated. And I was given the option of either going back on the job market or do I want to adjust and work in finance? Now, I, not knowing much about finance, thought I was going to be whining and dining. I was going to be out. I was going to be about, it's going to be talking about stock prices and all these different things. And well, it wasn't like that. What ended up happening was that I just sat there every day. You take a spreadsheet, you did some calculations, you click send. A billionaire somewhere in some place you never met, made $1 million. Here comes the next spreadsheet, do it again, over and over and over again. Now, that works for some people, but as Vanessa would probably tell you, the satisfaction of getting to see where your work ends up definitely does fulfill those who work in our industry, and that's what I saw. So you can go to the next page, Vanessa. So when my company finally, it closed because it was a startup and it wasn't successful, I set out to prove myself as a freelancer to show that I actually had the skill set needed to work in advertising, and freelance for about 2 years as a digital marketing manager, and GroupM took notice. So here's a space that Vanessa and I both frequented during the good old days of working in the office pre-COVID. And these are some of the brands that we worked on. Now, like Vanessa, we both work across all of our agencies. So GroupM owns quite a few agencies that have competing brands, but we work across those agencies to be able to work for Multicultural specifically. Now, however, in the age of COVID, I'm working from home, and that's my roommate, as you can see down there. That's Malibu. She's my 3-year-old cat that keeps me company every day. Right now, she's running around somewhere though, so I don't know where she's at. But and now I'm adjusting here at home. I'm in my mother's living room currently, and the work, as Vanessa mentioned before, is kicked up, and it's good to be needed. In the age of social justice, multicultural, and what we do has been at the forefront for a lot of our initiatives here at GroupM.
And just to really piggyback to what Marlon was saying, no, even though I work in insights and analytics and Marlon's on the digital investment side, we like to joke and say that our teams are sort of like LeBron and Dwayne. So it's like, I'm Dwayne, I'm providing all this research, all these insights, and I pass it off to Marlon's team, and he's LeBron, and they're going to do the alley-oop, make that score, and get that marketing opportunity for our clients. So we had to put this in there. I'm a Miami Heat fan. I'm in Florida. He's a big LeBron fan. So that's sort of what we do. But really, what is multicultural? And multicultural, to really just summarize it up, is we basically look at minority audiences in the US population and try to provide what the advertising dollars would be if we wanted to target them. So specifically, we look at Black audiences, we look at Hispanic audiences, LGBTQIA, Asian. We look at all of these minority communities, and we try to understand their attitudes, their behavior, their media consumption, and just really see how, as a client, where they should target them regionally, how much money we should use to target their campaigns, things like that. So this is basically a picture to show that there's many beautiful faces, colors, backgrounds, and we get to work across all of these audiences. So it's a really cool opportunity that me and Marlon get to do. So in order to understand really about what I do, sort of like as a Dwayne in our work, is the GroupM Multicultural Analytics team. We work across 3 sort of strategies in a way. We look at consumer insights, analytics, and then strategic marketing. So basically, in essence, we are given tons and tons of data. It can be first-party data from our clients. It could be second-party data, third-party data, so forth. And if I'm sure all of you guys are on some type of Snapchat, Instagram, you guys are on Google, we actually get access to all of that data. Don't worry, we won't get like your social or your name.
It's anonymized.
Yes, it's anonymized, but we use that data to really understand consumers, right? So we'll use analytics, we'll mine that data, and then we'll go into consumer insights. We'll be like, okay, so what are those golden nuggets that really tells us about this audience that we can actually use in our marketing to make a successful campaign? So it's very odd, but it's very fluid of the work that we do. And one of my favorite examples that I got to work on recently was we had a luxury jewelry company approach us, one of our clients. Unfortunately, I can't share the name, but they came up to us and they were just like, we've noticed that we cannot get Hispanic and Black women into our stores. What are we doing wrong? Is there something wrong with our creative? Is there something wrong with our messaging? What are we doing? Because we know that this is a really missed opportunity. So the client was really great and gave us all their data and all the things that they've offered from like a sales perspective, a store perspective, so who's actually walking in and out of the stores, things like that. And from a lot of the data that we found, that a lot of Black and Hispanic women are actually the kind of women that love to treat themselves. It's one of the things that we found. And we saw that after they get a job promotion or after they do something successful in their home or with their family, they want to go and get a piece of jewelry, but they weren't going to that store. So what we presented that to the client, and we're just like, hey, you guys are really missing an opportunity here. If you just change maybe your creative around or your messaging around, and really you could bring these women into the stores. And the client took that information and they actually put it into the creative of their advertising. And they said, when you get a promotion at work, you should come to this store and get this piece of jewelry. And it actually ended up being a success. And they saw a huge uptick in their female customers from the Black and Hispanic community, which was really, really cool. And aside from the analytics, because it's not just Excel sheets and data, we also on my team do a lot of thought leadership, which is really, really cool. One of the big ones that we do every year is called Culture Pulse. So we do basically a trends report every single year, and we try to find different trends that are going on in the marketplace that maybe not a lot of people are talking about as much as they should be, or what is some trend that's going to have a bigger implication for our clients, for our internal teams, and things like that. So one of my favorite ones that we ever talked about was about CBD and marijuana. And when we started our presentation talking about marijuana and its impact in society, a lot of our clients were like, what? We're going to learn about weed today? Like, they were very shook. But we started telling them, we're like, hey, CBD is now legal. There's stores that are selling them, and it's not just those like CBD or weed stores, it's the CVS, it's the Walgreens, it's the Targets, the Walmarts of the world. Like, this is actually something that's going to have a huge implication for your products or your brand. And one of our clients was just like, oh, I don't know. And then as they started doing research, they're like, oh, actually, this is a really big opportunity for us and an opportunity to bring in new customers into our stores, which is really cool to see. Another one that we saw was ASMR. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen those videos, but they're a little odd. I won't lie. And when we played a video of ASMR to our clients were just like, this is so weird. Like, why is this a thing? And we're just like, no, like, advertisers are doing this. And that same weekend, we saw the Super Bowl. I think that was 2 years ago. They did, I believe it was either Budweiser or Bud Light. It was one of the beer brands. They did use an ASMR style commercial, and it was a huge hit online. So our client ended up coming back and being like, oh my God, you guys were right. Like, this is something that we should have been paying attention to. So we're just like, you see? So presenting those trends and really showing them this is something that they could activate on to really be even more standing out to their customers. And another really cool one that I got to work on was one for Beyonce when she performed at Coachella. And at first I was just like, what are these implications here? But as we started analyzing the performance and everything that was going on social media, we really started seeing the symbolism that she started going back to, especially with historically Black colleges and universities, when it came to the musicians, the writers, the dancers. Everything involved in her performance was an homage to HBCU schools. And we presented that to our clients, and we're just like, hey, if you had done some type of activation, or if you involve symbolisms from different communities, look at how impactful it can be. So we like to take things that are going on in pop culture and things like that, mine the data, look at the numbers to see what the impact will be for our clients. And now I'm going to kick it off to Marlon so he can describe what he does.
Thank you again, Vanessa. So let's get into digital investment. What exactly is digital investment? Now, but digital investment in the steps of the digital media buying process sits right between Insights, which is Vanessa's team, and our planning teams. Our planning teams are those where most of our accounts are managed from a one-to-one basis. Our job really is to provide the places that all of our planning teams can advertise on for our clients. So with the insights and analytics that Vanessa's team provide, we then are able to have a better understanding of what the audiences are looking for and how they're reacting in different parts and different types of media, whether it's social, audio, whether they be Black mothers, Hispanic dads. And when planning teams come to us and they say, hey, we have this client who is a CPG client, consumer packaged good, or a entertainment client looking to activate this age group, we're able to look, or this age group or this demographic, we then set out to find the spaces, whether it be podcasts, whether it be playlists, whether it be social media pages, whether it be websites, and so on and so forth, that would make sense for that campaign. And in doing so, you can go to the next page, Vanessa. We developed something called the Multicultural Marketplace. Now, that handsome fellow there is Gonzalo Delfa. He is Vanessa and myself. He's our boss. So he was kind of he is the brainchild of GroupM Multicultural. And he tasked my team with developing a marketplace that all of our vendors and all of our clients can be able to view how we categorize our vendors. What does that mean? Now, every vendor, which you guys may look at as a website, like, I don't know, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, Disney, is not created equally. So we categorize them by 4 different categories. Audience targeted, the large ones, we're talking like guys that everyone goes to. Everyone goes to Amazon. Therefore, they will be called an audience targeted partner. Content targeted. These are sites that create like a space for a certain audience within the multicultural space. Think about BuzzFeed, Cocoa Butter, or Huffington Post, Latino Voices. Those are content targeted partners that create the bigger partners, but they create spaces for certain cultures to find content relevant to themselves. Then there's the endemic partners like the BETs, the Romlescas, the Prisas, those sites that are partners that create cultural content from people from within that culture itself. And then there's the own partners, which we can go into the next page, Vanessa, which, there we go, which is partners that are from the audience, by the audience, and also are certified from a ownership perspective to be minority owned. Now, in doing so, we set out to first ask the question, are you minority owned? And then believe it or not, there are partners out there in the marketplace that certify whether or not you are women owned, whether you're people of color owned, whether you're minority owned, and so on and so forth. One of those being Dun & Bradstreet, which we have their logo there. But some of those partners, the GroupM, Essence, I1 Digital, Canela, VIX, those are probably sites that you guys frequent all the time. From a consumer perspective, you probably don't even realize that you're consuming content from a minority-owned company, but the content's relevant to your culture most likely. If it's in Spanish, then that means it's probably from a person that speaks Spanish, and their cultural identity is that of a person with a Hispanic background. And so we developed a minority-owned vendor registration platform or initiative, which has then helped all of our clients to be able to see, or most of our teams to be able to see where it is that we're sending our dollars from a minority-owned perspective. And another cool thing that we developed at the digital investment team was the Multicultural Search Center of Excellence. Now, this is a partnership with Google. Believe it or not, guys, whatever you search online, kind of does tell marketers who you are. So chances are, if you search for JJ Redick, you might be a fan of basketball. If you search for JJ Redick in Spanish, you might be Hispanic and search for Hispanic and a fan of basketball. So content and data such as that is what we always get access to. Once again, they're anonymized. Not like we're out here, we know your blood type, we know where you live, we know how many, how much hair follicles you have. We don't, no. We just know that if you search these certain things, chances are that you're interested in them. If you search them in a certain language, chances are you speak that language. So the Center of Excellence for Search that we developed with Google has been in conjunction with all of GroupM's agencies, like we previously mentioned. And with that, we've been able to set the standard for best practices and the different approaches we should take regarding certain types of clients. If it's a entertainment client, if it's a consumer packaged good client, if it's a finance client, this is the audience. This is how Hispanics tend to interact with content from this category. Here's how Black moms tend to interact with content from this category, and therefore we get a better picture when we look to create campaigns to reach any of these audiences through search. And next. So I know we're awesome in our own right, but together we're better, So when LeBron and D-Wade paired up, that was the end for the rest of the league, minus the Spurs, because they have to get in there. But we're still cool. We work better together. And these next few slides will get into how it is that we work together and what we're able to produce from our different teams. Now, one of those initiatives was the New Majority Ready initiative. Now, as of 2020, let me back up a little bit. Vanessa's team did some research to show that as of 2020, the majority of our population in the United States under the age of 18 will be minority. Now, what does that mean? That means if you're under the age of 18 as of 2020, chances are you are either Black, Hispanic, or Asian. And what does that mean from a digital investment perspective? Now, that audience may not have the spending power now, but within 10 to 20 years, that's going to drive the marketplace. Their habits, the products that they're looking for, how they want to be spoken to, is going to drive exactly what it is that we're going to be telling our clients to do. So we created the New Majority Ready initiative, which is it's a coalition of many different teams, but specifically in this conversations between the analytics and insight team and the digital investment team, which led into a cultural maturity framework evaluation, where we evaluated all of our clients and all of our and a coalition of media vendors to show if they were ready for this new majority. Are they thinking about the business opportunity? Are they thinking about the audience strategy? Are they thinking about the resource allocation and the corporate impact of their initiatives? And with that, we were able to show most of our clients. Well, we've gotten good traction so far. We've gotten some good investment so far. We've been able to show that that there's a wave coming, and we should be ready for it, because there's the face of this country is going to change. And if we're trying to reach audiences where it matters and how it matters to them, then it's in our best interest to be prepared for it. Next page.
And just to piggyback with what Marlon was sharing, another really big project that both of our teams collaborated with together was one for one of our entertainment clients. And one of our entertainment clients last year, I believe Q1 of 2020, they had approached us and they wanted to learn more about the Black consumer as a movie theater goer. And they just wanted to know if their advertising was done really well, what do they look for in messaging, who they are basically just as a consumer, and their behaviors and attitudes, what's important to them, things like that. So one of the things that my team tackled on was understanding the insights of who they are as a movie theater goer, right? So up here, you'll see a little bit of like some screenshots of the stats that we found. And for example, we saw that Black consumers are looking for Black characters on screen. We saw that representation is really important for them. Depiction of the Black experience. They want their writers, their producers to be Black. They really want the full-on experience of just not seeing Black talent on screen, but they also want to know that behind the scenes, there's also a lot of Black talent working for the content that they're watching, right? So we packaged that all up. We found these insights and we handed it over to Marlon's team. Sorry, I almost said his boss name. We handed it out to Marlon's team. So that's where like the Dwayne and LeBron come in. We like pass it on to him. And from there, Marlon and Nelson, I just said his name, whatever. But from there, Marlon's team was able to really find platforms and podcasts and just those endemic partners that he had mentioned on earlier of where Black consumers are going to go listen to content, right? So what we found was that there's a lot of Black content being produced on Spotify, on Pandora, on iHeartRadio. So we were able to give the client this information and be like, here's the information of who the consumer is, and this is where you can go and find them, and this is where they're go listening to their content. So if our client wanted to activate on it, maybe they can do a partnership with one of the podcasters, maybe they can do a partnership with Sway. So from there, we see that there is that flow that we presented a marketing opportunity for our client in order for them to impact Black consumers even more. And this was actually so well received by our client that now our client is asking for a Hispanic consumer landscape. So basically everything that we had done for the Black consumer last year, we're going to actually do it on this year for the Hispanic consumer. So we're going to look at what our Hispanic moviegoers going to be searching for and where are those platforms that Marlon's team will find in order to find them. But of course, we're not all just working hard. There's also a lot of really great things that we do even within our own office space, and that is a lot to do with ERG. So ERG stands for Employee Resource Group, and one of the really big ones that Marlon actually spearheaded is Amplify.
Yes, so Vanessa and I work in GroupM Multicultural, which is a benefit, and it's an awesome job title that we have because we get to marry culture with media. And in marrying culture with media, we get to examine what makes those from underrepresented communities tick, what makes them, what's important to them. And honestly, it doesn't end at just looking at a consumer. Sometimes you look at yourself, you look at your coworkers, and we realized that, well, we would go out to happy hours and we would just talk about what's bothering us and what it is, how we feel about certain things, about how our company was addressing certain needs of ours. And this all came about from a conversation that I had with the head of diversity, equity and inclusion, Lakeisha Paul, where I just ran by her, hey, we're having these conversations outside of GroupM. I would like to have them inside GroupM. And she goes, well, why don't you just start an employee resource group? So sets forward trying to do so. And I went to Vanessa and I go, I know exactly what it is we want to do. We want to amplify the voices of Black and Hispanic people here at GroupM. But I can't find a name. And then Vanessa just looks at me, as only Vanessa could, and just goes, so it's Amplify. And that's how Amplify came about. So we are a employee resource group that's here to amplify Black and Hispanic employees here at GroupM. Our goals center around connecting our members with those in executive leadership positions, as well as giving them visibility across our network. Go to the next page, Vanessa. Now, in doing so, we actually created an exhibit for Black History Month last year, the second of its kind, but it was a one of a kind event in that it was so successful that WPP caught wind of it, which is our parent company, and actually amplified it across their network. So it was well attended in the beginning of last year, right before COVID happened. And honestly, at part of my young career, this is one of the most impressive things I could point anyone to. I feel very proud that we were able to do this, and it came about from just a conversation about, you know what, some things need to change, or you know what, this is what our perspective is. And to think as a singular person that sometimes it may not be that important, but to find community in others just by raising up your voice. We found that this is actually shared, our sentiments are shared across our network. So this event, if there ever was one we can point to, showed just how strong our voices are across GroupM and the support that we have from GroupM as well. We are a media-based business. We are trying to connect those from different walks of life with our brands, and to hear our company, hear our voices, and then amplify it. No pun intended there. Amplify it across its own network. So it was really cool.
And just to add on to what Marlon just shared, if you guys can see in the pictures, they also created almost a global, what would you call it, Marlon? Like an exhibit of where everyone is from
Right.
in the world. Because we also wanted to have this event and be informative and not look at the Black audience as so monolithic, right? Like it's a very diverse community within itself. So we were able to show that it's people from Africa, South America, Europe, the Caribbean. So the lines that you see there is those are all actual employees at GroupM, and they're just like, hey, I'm from Guyana, like Marlon is, hey, I'm from Haiti. So it was really cool because not only did other employees learn more about Black history, but it's like they also learned about their actual own employees too.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Exactly. And even when you think about what we do, we plan audiences, right? We plan how to reach different audiences from what we perceive to be, or what we honestly, it starts from where we perceive these audiences to be. Let's just be real. The data backs it up. And to see that mapping out, these people all identify as Black, but here are all the places that they're from in the world. 2 media planners. Hey guys, media planners, check this out. They're all Black, right? Well, they ain't all listening to hip hop. This is like, that person's from Europe. This person's from Asia. This person is from, so it's like, it was really cool to watch that conversation happen too. So next steps. Here are my tips, guys. First and foremost, don't take yourself too seriously. Mid-20s, early 20s, you're going to be learning a lot. You're going to make some mistakes, and people are they might get on your nerves a little bit. Don't take yourself too seriously. You're going to block your blessings. You're working very hard right now to do something. You're trying to finish your degree, trying to work in the job that you want to work in. If you take yourself too seriously, sometimes you might just get in the way of your own growth. Remember to be intentional. Everything that you do, there's a purpose for it. There's a reason why you're going to school. There's a reason why we're sitting here today. You guys get graduation credits for this. Let's be real. And we're awesome too. So, but be intentional. There's a reason why it is you're doing everything. Find balance as well. You're not just a student. You're not just a professional. You're many things. Everything, every side of you, every interest that you have fills into who you are as a person. So give every side of you like the time and the space it needs, if you can, whenever you can. And finally, stay calm and stay ready. If you do all these other steps, just make sure that you just believe in yourself, and then you'll be ready for whatever it is that you're destined to do.
Next. And on top of those, some more tips here. So remember that you are a boss. Remember that you should always be prepared. this was something that was honed in to me by one of my professors in college. And she was like, be prepared in the sense of going into an interview, your resume should be prepared. Even talking to someone else, have some type of elevator pitch, being able to introduce yourself and being prepared on all fronts in order to get a job one day, right? And then also fix that LinkedIn. LinkedIn, honestly, is the new Instagram. Recruiters will find you on LinkedIn, so make sure you have all your schooling up to date. Add in little bios about where you've interned, some projects. Like I remember when I was interviewing around before I landed at GroupM, one of the recruiters was just like, oh, I saw that you did this case study in your senior year of college. She's like, tell me more about that. And that was something that I had actually been prepared for to talk about. And I used it as an example. Like, even though I may have not had, because I had around like 4 internships at the time, even though I didn't have tons of internship experience like other people may have, it's like, hey, I used my college experience in order to talk about it. So fix that LinkedIn and make sure it's nice and up to date. And then also trust your gut. This I actually put in there because this is advice that my mom gave me ever since you're young, right? She's like, you have a gut, so follow it. And I remember this came into play when I was interviewing different places. There was one agency that I was just like, oh my God, like they offered me a nice pay, like this is a good salary, they have benefits, but you know what, like there's something there, like it's just not for me. And I ended up turning it down. And that same night, I got a call from GroupM offering me a job, and it was the job that I wanted. So it just like, if I had said yes to something else, then I wouldn't have had that opportunity to be at GroupM now. So just knowing what you want, you know what you want in life. So just follow your gut. And then also network. I added it in 3 times because that is so important in getting a job. You guys are already taking the initiative and going to these calls. We heard about how USD does a lot of events. So going to those types of events are super important. You never know what someone else might know. Like literally, I know Marlon has been networking since middle school, actually, with Ron. So Marlon, if you want to share.
So yeah, Ron and I were in the same class in the 8th grade. And who in a small world, right? You graduate from junior high school. You don't think you're ever going to see these people ever again. And then years later, here you are on the phone with someone, and they go, did you go to McKinley? And I'm like, I knew that name from somewhere. And he goes, my name is Ron. And I'm like, yeah, I know you, Ron. But anyways, well, quick story about Ron, though. So Ron, in addition to being the person I interviewed with to work at GroupM, Ron also ushered me away from another intended career path that I had. So at the age of 12 or 13, I was about that same height there too, by the way. I'm about still that same height. Ron and I were playing basketball, and I was just, I wanted to go out there. I wanted to get a D1 scholarship. So here I was, I don't know if anyone here watches Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that one shot where Carlton is hitting the jump shot. He just stopped like this. So I hit the jump shot and I stopped like this, and I see this giant hand come out of nowhere and just swat it into the 3rd row. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna find a book and go read that, because this ain't about to happen. And that's how it is that I chose a life of academia, and now I'm sitting here in media speaking to you guys. So thank you, Ron, for ushering me into the right path.
And it just shows the importance of networking. But thank you guys so much. This is our contact information. Feel free to email me, add me on LinkedIn. If you see something on LinkedIn that you're like, hey, you haven't updated yet, call me out on it. I'll update it. This is also Marlon's contact information, so feel free to bug him as well. We're always here to help. Ron and Ephraim, they're also great people to connect with, so really use that networking muscle and connect to them as well. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Any questions?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I do want to say thank you, Marlon and Vanessa, for going through this whole presentation and bringing back my 12-year-old self into the picture. But yeah, hopefully the rest of you have learned a whole lot about what we do in GroupM. I do see a couple of hands raised, so if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, that's totally fine as well. I think Sarah, you might have been the first hand, I believe. So feel free to unmute yourself, or you can always type it into the chat.
I was wondering what you guys love most about GroupM's company culture and how it has been upheld during the pandemic and kind of like times of uncertainty
I can answer that for myself. What I like most about GroupM's company culture, I'll explain how my first month went. So I come from a finance background. So the first few weeks I came in with a suit and tie, with a shirt and tie. So I walked in and my director goes, what are you doing? And I was like, oh no, yeah, I'm just dressed for work. He goes, take off the tie. Don't please. Sorry, all right, fine. That one day, finally, I guess, I don't know what happened. My shirt came out of my pants. He goes, keep it that way. That's cool. Relax. So the workplace, I like most about the work culture is that, well, we don't lose sight of the fact that we are an expression-based business. So how we've pivoted to the work from home. Cameras can stay off, at least within our own team. Cameras can stay off if you're not in a presentable mode or something. And there's a lot of understanding. Hey, right now I may not have it today. From my own personal team, like I think we just get spoiled because our team is just very down to earth and very open about, honestly, like work is very important, but also you're living too. So.
One of my favorite things about GroupM, I would say, is just how much they challenge you beyond work. So I know we touched a little bit about Amplify, but there's also resource groups such as Women of Color. There's also just being a woman in general. There's a lot of panels that you get to go to, a lot of networking that it's like beyond, because I'm like, maybe I won't say media forever, but maybe if I go to these panels, I'll learn something else about me. So it's really cool that it's just not something that you're clocking in from 9 to 5. There's more to it. And I would say that actually has really translated really well to working from home, because I will say now you're not in an office seeing people every single day, right? So it's just like GroupM has really maintained those conversations with people, and COVID has also affected a lot of us mentally, right? So they offer a lot of resource groups when it comes to speaking to anyone. If you need to take time off, they're super understanding about that. And I will say you don't get that everywhere you go. So just knowing that they value you more than just like as an employee, I think is something that I would definitely say is like one of the biggest benefits of being GroupM, for sure.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think Vanessa and Marlon said pretty much what I wanted to say, but it definitely is more than just work at the end of the day. And you'll see that from an internship to a full-time opportunity to even more senior level folks. But all in all, it's like a second family. And I always say this to pretty much my entire team. So you're coming to work, you're spending, a majority of your life working anyway. So you definitely want to be surrounded with people that are, there for you. And I think working in a collaborative setting like a media agency, you're really tasked with working with other people, and you're actually kind of codependent on one another as well, right? So similar to, LeBron and Dwayne. But all in all, don't mean to, call him out there. I mean, maybe he couldn't have won the ring without certain people, but but all in all, you do work alongside with a lot of different people. And I think it's just so amazing that we can be, coming from different types of background from across the globe, across the US, and we're able to get connected and stay connected and work so diligently together. So that's my 2 cents there. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. That was great.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, what else do we have here? Any hands? Feel free to just shout it out, but maybe not all at once, But yeah, there's also a chat function if that's better for everyone. Aside from that, if you feel more comfortable sending us emails individually and asking questions in that sense, that's totally fine as well. But I think I see a hand from Max. So Max, what's up? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just wondering if for people searching for like entry-level jobs or internships in the marketing field, if besides like schoolwork and work experience, if there's any skills or certifications you guys recommend for someone searching for a job right now.
I think one thing, Max, to be honest with you, that I learned while I was freelancing, looking for that role, was there's a difference between advertising, media, and marketing, right? So identify which one it is that you envision yourself in. So we work in advertising, so we bring media to marketers, and where do you want to be? And your skill set kind of changes, right? So if you want to be a marketer, then chances are you're looking at a brand and you're looking at how it is you can make brands go to a certain level or represent a brand in some way. If you're working in a media space, you're more likely looking at different metrics and KPIs that are relevant to advertising, which is like relevancy and recency and things like that. And if you're looking at it from a what's the other one? I'm missing one. Media, marketing, advertising. So yeah, so if you're looking at it from a media side, then you're going to be working at a company like a Viacom or a Disney, representing, you know, that brand. And from a sales side, we can do all of these things for you. We can help marketers and advertisers reach their audiences through these shows and these content. So first and foremost, is that understanding is very important, which where you want to be. That's what's the most important thing for me.
Oh, sorry. I was just also going to add, there's surprisingly a lot of free courses online too. So anything, and it can be as basic as an Excel course, like having some type of background in Excel, that already makes you stand out on a resume. Or having any type of, like, I remember in college, I took like a Hootsuite certification.
Yes,
and
me too.
I don't apply Hootsuite to anything I do, but it's just like I can talk about it in an interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's tons of free stuff online, and also apply to like basic things that happen in your life. Like I remember I worked at a summer camp in high school, and I applied that to when I was interviewing at places. I was like, because that gave me team building skills, that gave me organization skills, time management skills. So anything that's going on in your own background, it doesn't have to be internship or school related. Anything else can also be applied as long as you show how that skill set could be transferable to a position you want. That's also like something really important to keep in mind too.
Yeah, Vanessa, you took that right out of my mind right there. But no, they're totally correct, Marlon and Vanessa. But on all, just really kind of like Marlon said before, kind of get in there with intentions, right? You can look for any sort of job that you want, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that what you're interviewing for is something that you want. There's definitely going to be a clear difference when, let's say, you're interviewing for a media planning job and they ask you, why do you want to be a media planner? And you say, hey, I just want a job. Versus you saying, hey, I want to be a media planner because of X and Y reasons. That's really going to help you stand out amongst the rest of the crowd. But when it comes to like certifications and whatnot, Excel goes a long way, Google Sheets, even with you working on, you know, random things, right? Like maybe like a Google AdWords, it might not be extremely applicable to, let's say, a media planner, but it's still relevant to what we do in media to a point where, you know, there's some familiarity. But yeah, not just internships, not just jobs, not just schoolwork. Talk about, you know, some of the organizations or the clubs that you were a part of, right? Maybe you're like a treasurer in like a sorority or something like that. That goes a long way. The way I see it, it's basically another job at the end of the day. But yeah, hopefully that helps.
To piggyback off of what Ron said too, one of the things that, if we want to put it into perspective, is we kind of have a presentation every day, you know? So every day we're asked to lead meetings, or we're asked to provide like what would ultimately be the final say in certain things. So if you can show that in what you do through your own like interests, those are skill sets that transfer across all markets that you're trying to get into. So
absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's all really helpful.
You got it.
A question came in through the chat. What is your favorite project in your job, and what project made you love your job?
Ooh.
Favorite project in the job. My favorite project was the GroupM Multicultural Marketplace. That was my baby. That's my favorite project within my job, right? Because I got a chance to look at all of these guys. Like everyone just thinks about, we just want to just look at every single media vendor, all these websites, whatever. And I got a chance to work with so many different teams, from our programmatic teams to our brand safety teams to even each individual website too, like the teams that own them, like to speak to them and see how it is that they actually work on the back end, and then create this one like rubric for how to evaluate individual vendors. And it was cool. I was an associate at the time, a year into the job, and getting a chance to, with the blessing of my team, to be like, go out there and do that and show us what you got. and to come back and say, hey, this is what I have. And what project helped me love my job, ERG, the employee resource group, building that and being able to connect with others, and then also being able to show, Black and Hispanic employees here at GroupM that, hey, your voice does matter. And it was cool. It's cool to be in that kind of company. So it adds added value to the job that I do here.
Ooh, one of my favorite projects. One of my favorite clients is that entertainment client that we just talked about. Like, I am a total like pop culture junkie. Like, I love all Bravo, all E, anything Kardashians, I'm there. I'm your girl. And I remember they had asked us about, I think it was like The Bachelor or something. And I had to do a whole white paper on The Bachelor. But it was like, we were looking at it from a data perspective. So it's not like I was just talking about Colton or anything like that. It was just like, I had to talk about the people who are watching and why they were watching it, how they were watching it. I went into this whole thing. I fell into a black hole about The Bachelor, but it was one of the coolest projects I ever worked on, because my mom's like, oh, like, what did you do today at work? I was like, oh, I watched The Bachelor to understand why people were like, and it was so, my mom was, she's like, you get paid to do this? I was like, yeah. So I think that was one of the coolest projects. And honestly, why I stayed at GroupM so long, I think just having, like, I've been really blessed to work on a very amazing team who pushes me to be the best version of myself professionally and personally. So I think my team is what's kept me around, working with like Marlon's team. Like, me and Marlon, we're like buddies. Like, we have lunch together, and we're always also like, hey, why don't we build like an ERG? Like, so it's just like the community feel, I think, is one of my favorite things about GroupM. And unfortunately, we're not in the office, but like this still camaraderie still happens even virtually, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you want my take on it, when it comes to projects, for me, the thing that I'm most proud of is actually creating the internship program. And we actually did that back in 2019 with all the different operating companies. And prior to that, each operating company within GroupM did their own thing. It wasn't until I just kind of stepped into the scene and said, hey, why don't we do it together? But that came to fruition. We hired about 120 plus people in 2019, and we probably will be hiring a little bit less than that this year. But of course, it's definitely very fulfilling to see these interns become interns, and then to associates, and then hopefully next year, senior associates and plus. And then maybe they'll hop on a presentation like this and speak to future interns or future associates. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And I think we actually have another one on the chat really quickly from CJ Lewis. Just to read it off really quickly. CJ says, where do you three see yourself in the next 5 years? What goals do you set for yourself at the start of every year? Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, okay. Boy, the 5-year plan. The daunting 5-year plan. In 5 years, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. To be honest, like, to work in media, it's something that I look forward to, and I intend on being here. But I want to be closer to an initiative. My goal is to lead a global initiative one day. And so if I'm getting closer to that within the next 5 years, then that's something that I intend to do. That's good for me. That's my goal, to get closer to that. So what does that mean from a digital investment perspective? It's continue to work on those projects, have those projects that the marketplace and the Multicultural Search Center of Excellence, have them be adopted into our general market plans, and then be taken by our clients, and then having the opportunity to lead them in front of high stakeholders. And what goals do I set for myself at the start of every year? And that's more, like, for this year, it was more visibility, honestly. There was personal goals too, like, so professionally, it's more visibility, being having a chance to lead more discussions and more initiatives. Personally as well, it was balance, to be honest with you. The goal was to be very efficient with time, and also to be very efficient with downtime as well. So.
Myself in 5 years, I do see myself sticking to the entertainment industry. That's something that really has always been something that's caught my eye ever since high school, I would say. So I see myself working there more around the activation space, but having it be consumer insights led. So in a way that's saying, like, let's say, name me a movie, Coco. The movie Coco is coming out, and they want to do an activation, let's say with Target. So it's just like being part of that, having that moment come together between Target and a movie, and knowing, understanding what maybe a Hispanic community wants to see from Target, and having the data and the insights be tied together in order for an activation to be sort of powerful in a community. I think that's something that I have always seen myself doing, because at the end of the day, like, even though we work in advertising, a lot of the work that Marlon and I do is also like humbles us in a way, because we see that we're making an impact in communities, right? So I would love to stick to that train and just do it more in the entertainment space around movies, TVs, things like that. And a lot of the goals that I put in place was actually instilled by one of my current managers. When she was first hired on the team, she's like, do you do your SMART goals every year? And I was just like, what? And she was just like, Vanessa, we need to sit down and do SMART goals. So it was cool, because SMART goals, if you guys look it up on Google, it's super easy. And they give you like templates and everything. And there's like the big long-term goals. There's the smaller short-term goals, things like that. Things that are more reachable, and it keeps you accountable. So you can put like a time limit on them. You're like, okay, I want to complete this goal in 2 months or 3 years, things like that. So I've been working with her to do that. And a lot of it is personal. So I told her, I was like, I see myself working in entertainment one day. She's like, okay, so you know what? We'll give you more work that our current entertainment client is doing, so you get more of that experience. So it's like, they're already preparing me in a way for what I am going to be in 5-10 years. But it's like, I'm putting it on paper so I know what I have to do. And then I'll do some research on my own and be like, okay, so if this is what, let's say, a director or an SVP does, I'll start looking at what skills they have so I can start working on them now. I'm very type A, as you can tell. So I like writing those goals down. And it's not something that I try to pressure myself, because if I don't complete the goal, I also don't want to be disappointed in myself either. So as long as they're goals that are tangible and I can work towards, I think that's very important too. So.
Awesome. And I know we're kind of pressed on time, but Kelsey, do we have a hard stop at 4:30?
1:30 our time.
1:30.
I'd say go ahead and answer that last question from Sarah in the chat, and then any other questions students can email all of you on the side.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. So Marlon, Vanessa, if you want to answer the last question that Sarah put in there, are you able to see the chat, or do you want?
Yeah, what type of tools or technologies do you guys use on a daily basis to analyze data trends and track insights? That's a Vanessa question.
So there's actually a lot of tools. There's things like Mintel, MRI, Simmons. Those are more things that an agency would have to pay for. But there's also simple ones like Google Trends. Google Trends, and it's free. You literally go on googletrends.com and you can trend topics that have been going on for the past 5 years. So that's one that we use. There is, oh my God, now I'm blanking. There's like Facebook Insights, there's Twitter Insights. A lot of these tools, you just like Google them. That's really all you can do. And some of them are free and then some you have to pay for. But it's really every day. And there's also a lot of qualitative stuff. So I remember when I first got hired on the team, I made a New York Times subscription. And just having a subscription to a newspaper, like you get to read so much information there and see what trends people are talking about. So going to different publishers, that's also a good way too.
Thank you.
And from my point of view, just watching her team pull together these tons and tons of numbers and then create storylines behind it, it's been a treat to watch. From the media perspective, we have partnerships with large rating agencies like Nielsen for digital and mostly linear or broadcast data, and then ComScore for mostly digital and some broadcast data as well. That's pretty much it. I don't think we use much else.
Yeah, and granted, you learned these things on the job at the end of the day, but yeah, so don't beat yourself up if you can't find a course on those tools. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just to be respectful of everyone's time, I do want to again thank Marlon and Vanessa for teaching us so much more about multicultural and what it's like to actually work in GroupM. Granted, if you guys have any sort of questions whatsoever, feel free to send us an email, connect with us via LinkedIn, and yeah, we'll go from there. And on the chat, there is a link for you to be part of our email marketing campaign. So if you sign up and you put in jobs of interest as future talent entry level, you'll be able to stay engaged with us as we often give you content about what it is that we do, or even jobs that we have upcoming and stuff of that nature. But yeah, reach out. Hope you learned something. And again, thank you everyone for your time, and best of luck in school, and see you in GroupM in a few.
Thank you,
Take care,
guys.
everyone. Take
Thank
care,
you
guys.
everyone for coming. Thank you, Marlon, Vanessa, and Ron for your time, and Ephra for coming as well. We really enjoyed having all of you, and that was a great presentation.
It was fun. Until next time,
Alright.
guys.
Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you guys. Loved it.
Thanks everyone for coming.